Hey everyone, welcome. Good to see you. And I'm Peter Askim. I'm composer and conductor and artistic director of the next Festival of Emerging Artists. It's really great to have you here, and I'm really excited to do an interpretation masterclass today with some of the fellows from the festival. So I'm just gonna put right now in the chat the performers who will be performing. Harry Grossman and Elizabeth Knob will be starting out playing A Piece of Mine, which is a duo for viola and bass. And hey, how's it going, Harry and Elizabeth?
It's good.
Hey,
How are you?
Excellent, excellent. I'm really looking forward to hearing this. So shall we just jump right in?
Sure,
Yeah,
sounds
that'd
good.
be great.
Great. So this is the second movement of this piece. There's 3 movements total. Anything else you want to add before you start playing?
Not much other than it's just been amazing to be able to work on just a piece with the actual composer of it, and
Absolutely.
you're able to like unlock so much stuff, and just know,
So much insight.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
really great to be able to work on with you. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, and it's great to work on it with you. So let's go for it.
Yeah.
Bravo!
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Bravo! Great, great. So obviously, this is a piece that's about energy, and it's about extremes, and about kind of these very quick shifts in perspective, almost like jump cuts in like an action movie, right? So going from one world to the next, with no telegraphing what's happening, right? So just back and forth. And I think you're both doing a really great job with that. So one of the things that I want to just talk about is something that you and I have worked on a little bit, but just working so that we can get those dynamic contrasts as big and sudden as possible without at all telegraphing. And of course, when we're playing on Zoom, everything gets kind of compressed, so we have to work extra special hard to make sure that we telegraph those big changes. So let's just do this. Can we start from the beginning? And I want you to play the first until the first piano. So just land on the first piano dynamic. And let's think about the phrasing going all the way to the arrival of the piano. So we have and leave out the downbeat there.
Right.
Okay? So that it phrases all the way through, like a big arrival on 80, like you were going to play a forte, but just leave it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good, good. Can it, so that it's marked as a fortissimo, forte, and then a crescendo that happens. Can we do da ga da ga da da? Let's try actually fortissimo, piano, and then do the crescendo from there.
Okay.
Just so we get that sense of that proportion from fortissimo back down.
Right.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. So even though it's fortissimo to forte, now we have that proportion between like sudden statement and coming away from it.
Right.
Okay? So let's do that again. Play all the way through as if you were going to play a fortissimo on the downbeat of that, the end of the phrase.
Got it.
And then stop. Excellent. That's totally it. That's totally the energy. Feels really, really good. The only thing that I would ask for is, I find that when string players are playing and the bow stops at all, then we get just a little bit of a stop in the phrase. So the energy of the phrase needs to carry all the way through. Anytime that we stop the physical motion, I find that there's just a little heaviness and that happens. So Harry, what I would ask is, even though you're playing short notes, can you keep the bow in motion? So you're doing da 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 instead of da 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 da. Can we do da 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 da? So even though there's a little break in the sound or a rest, keep the circular motion, keep the bow in motion. Do exactly what you did. So leaving out the downbeat of 80 now. Just exactly what you did. Wow. Super great. Super great energy. And it's a really little thing, but this is what I've found about anytime the motion stops, the music stops.
Right.
And now just by keeping it in motion during the rests, the whole thing worked.
Yeah.
So now, Elizabeth, can we do this? Can we start right from that arrival point where it feels like it should be a fortissimo? Let's start right from there. Just you do as quietly as you can. Start on the string right at 80. Excellent. Okay. So now let's combine that all. All right. And that's the trick, right? Is like we think we're going to get to this huge arrival right there, but actually it's da 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 da. Right? So that's the drama of it. Can you make sure that like it's no louder than what you just played?
Okay.
Okay? I'm not saying it's easy, but that's the trick.
Okay. Got it. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that was it.
Go on.
That was it. I think you can be like even totally disappear. Like even if you left out the first two notes, we wouldn't even know, right? It's just that thing. Excellent. And so what I feel now is that we get the idea of suddenly loud, dropping down. It's all about relative, and then coming back up, dropping back down. Really, really good. So let's go from the beginning again with those things in mind. And Elizabeth, just make sure that when the next big outburst comes, that you prepare it with your big muscles first.
Yeah.
You'll see what I mean. Yeah. Great, great. So let's just take that section apart just a little bit.
Right.
Really, really excellent, especially when we got to the very quiet sections towards the end. All right. So let's go from where we started from, and let's do a slightly slower tempo. In fact, let's do da 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 and exaggerate the dynamics, because this is really tricky, right? And so all of the things that the mechanical things that have to happen to go from really forte to really pianissimo, there's a lot that has to happen there. So do it just slowly at that tempo from 80. Good, good. Can you do that one more time? And really, the pianissimos and the pianos just totally disappear. Exaggerate everything like 10 times more than you think that you need to do. And then it'll probably be like about half as much as you think it is, right? Okay, so let's try that again. And Elizabeth, you even in this tempo, you were telegraphing that first subito fortissimo, right? So it's hard to change tempos this much, right? Because it depends on stroke and everything like that. But let's just exaggerate everything. Good, good, good. So now let's crank that up in tempo. Not quite up to tempo, but closer. And bring back that energy that you had, right? So we want to, we always have to strike that balance between, it's accurate and what the composer intended, right? And the spirit of the piece, which is just totally, pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I really love it. It's got that energy. I think Harry, in the pianos, you can be even a little bit less at like 89 in there. But I think we're definitely right on the right track. So can we go back to the beginning now and put that together? And let's go to tempo and see what we do, right? So we just did a lot of really detailed work. Try and both, incorporate it and ignore it.
Yeah.
Okay? So that we get the energy now. It's great. It's really good. I think it's really, really good. Okay? Having fun, or just is it just feel hard?
Having fun. I just had a pedal malfunction, so I switched to Harry's music halfway.
Well, yeah, life in the fast lane, right? Yeah.
And it went all the way through the score.
It didn't sound like it.
No, it didn't sound like it. It didn't sound. You hit it well. That was really good. Good. So just in when you have a section that's in piano, and this I think is not just in my music, but often, it's always is, seems confusing if you have a passage in piano and you have accents within that, right?
Yes.
So for instance, Elizabeth at 85, dun dun taka taka dun 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 dun. I think it should be like a stage whisper,
Right.
right? So that when it is quiet, it's in the world of quiet.
Right.
It has intensity, but it's not loud. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I would say about those sections, like at 85 and 89, is maybe it was a little bit too loud. It's got to have that kind of, like a Austin Powers movie, like a laser, right? But like a quiet laser far away. Okay, super. Let's go to 94. Okay, and notice here, right, that this is the first time that there's 3 Fs. So this is the loudest and the longest, right? And the composer writes long and brutal. Okay, so how can we telegraph that? Because it feels, already, when we enter the frame of the piece, right, that we feels like, oh my God, it's as loud as it can possibly be, right? But it's like it has to go to 11. Right? So what can you do, even if you don't physically play louder, what can you do to telegraph that now this is an arrival point? Because it's architectural too. Right? So everything that's happened up until this is kind of preparation for this big arrival. So let's take it right there from J. Great. So yeah, so very good. So it's tricky, but really great work. So Elizabeth, I'm finding just a little bit like when you go to measure 103, the double stops that happen on there with the open G and the A flat, you lose just a little bit time. It feels like it's a little bit longer and just gets just slightly behind. Okay, so just so you know. But what I feel like at 109 was excellent. Can we go from 109? And what I felt like happened at 109 was not, so here's a section where it gets quieter, right? So we've been doing this very percussive, very aggressive, very rock and roll kind of punk music energy. And so not only does it get quieter, but you change the color there, right? So that was super effective. It was quasi a little bit of a maybe Ponticello or something that you did, but it gave us like, oh wow, that's different. That's happening there. All right, so can we do right from 109?
Sorry, I wasn't sure.
Sorry, I'm overthinking now.
Yeah, I know I'm throwing a lot at you, right? But I thought that was excellent. You know, that because it is about contrast, it is about extremes. So when you added that color change in, we really got the feeling of it, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. One more time.
Sure.
Excellent. Good. Really good. Really good. Just remember, Elizabeth, that contact point can really help us make those contrasts, right? So if we're too close to the fingerboard, the string gets a little flabby, you're working really, really hard, but not getting as much for your effort, right? And as you move closer to the bridge, there's more tension in the string, that resistance actually helps you get the energy and project just a little bit more. So that's one place I noticed that was at 124. 124. Okay, but this is all really, really excellent. Why don't we go, in the interest of time, from L, okay? And make sure that never gets louder than is indicated.
Right.
Right.
And that there's here we have, so this piece is about extremes, right? So at the beginning we had the extreme between two Fs and one F, and then to P, right? At L, we have the extreme of piano, one P, to two Ps, to P, right? So it's the same thing that happened at the beginning, but instead of really, really loud to really loud, it's soft to really soft, right? So it's like that. It's like this image of like when you see a very bright light in a dark room and then you close your eyes. You get that after image of it. So you're seeing the same thing, but it's in the context of the darkness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So from L.
Sure.
Excellent. Really, really good. Really good. I really love the direction that it's heading in. So one place, just we won't look at it right now, but 133. Here we have a subito piano that goes to a fortissimo, a 7/8 bar, which is longer than we expect, that goes all the way to three Fs, right? So like in the middle of this, it's like in the middle of this long distance endurance run, I throw in like, I move the finish line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that one really needs to really push through. So use all of the things available to you. So weight, contact point, energy, contrast, changing sound, even facial expressions or what you do with your body.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we can really get the illusion that we're making a crescendo or that we're playing louder if we just make it the drama with it. And in the land of Zoom, you know, sometimes that's equally effective. But also when people are in a concert hall, because we will be sometime soon, right? Is people react to your body language, right? And when you show the music, you know, that gives the illusion that it's quieter or that it's softer, or that you're making that big leap. Let's go from can we go from N, slightly under tempo, because there's a lot of changes that happen there.
Yeah.
Great. Excellent. Excellent. So really good work. Yeah, and just for everybody in the audience, when we take it apart like this, right? You know, we're really hyper focusing on the details, and then, but it's important, right? So the way that we work out the very smallest details, then really will make a difference when we incorporate it back in. Just one comment here. So at P, and I think this goes for other music too, is we have the same music repeated several times, right? And even though it's all marked with two Fs, it's all marked very loud and intense. Within that, there's a differentiation, right? So the more that we repeat something in speech, like if we say something and we say something again, and then we repeat it, and then we keep on saying the same thing, right? Like naturally there's more of an intensity that happens there. So even though it's marked like really intense the whole way through at P, save a little bit, right? And some of the things that you can do in your music, like even marking music in a way that gives you a shorthand of like, like pull back, you know, or even putting in a vertical arrow above the arrival point where the music goes to, can be like peripherally, you'll see, oh, the arrival is in 4 measures, right? Even though you're not looking at it, you see, there's the arrow that I'm working towards, so therefore I need to back off just a little bit more. Yeah. Can you just do just this one section from P to the end, and then I'll ask you to go back and play through the whole thing and put it all together.
Yeah.
So here's the part where I was talking about like it's marked 2 Fs. It's marked very loud, it's marked very intense, but you get sort of the same phrase repeated. I would say like a forte plus or a fortissimo minus. Right. So you have some place to go, the intensity. Yep. It's like, you know, if you have a great turkey dinner, you got to save some room for the pie afterwards, right? Yeah. Yeah, really excellent. Can your facial expression and your gesture be even more rawr, you know? For everybody else, when I talked to them before, I told them about the movie Alien, which Elizabeth hadn't seen before. But for me, you know, this is if you haven't seen it, you should see it. But it's very graphic where these aliens lay the babies in the stomach and then they pop out, right? So it's got to feel like oh wow, just emerging kind of from our gut. Yeah. You know, it's that feeling of just everything erupting. Okay, so not to get all sci-fi and gory, but in a way it's kind of gory. And just for everybody's reference, this is the middle movement of a 3-movement piece, and the outer movements are quite nice. So I don't want you to get the idea that it's all about my need for intensive therapy and medication. Because the outer movements are quite nice. They're really very pretty. But this is that kind of central intensity that makes the other ones stand apart. So what I would ask now is, let's go back to the beginning. We've worked super in detail, and what I observed was that when you incorporated the details but then really went for it, that you were really able to sell the piece, you know, regardless of if every single thing was you know, absolutely pixel perfect, as they say in the design world. Yeah. So obviously I'm the composer. I wrote it, and I want you to do every single thing that I said, and I want, you know, because I'm a control freak and I like every little detail. But in the end, right, the music is about this grand eruption of emotion. Right. So wherever we get it to in the practice room, when we perform it, which let's pretend this is a performance now, we incorporate that, but we just, you know, go on autopilot. We access the kind of deeper emotions, right? We don't think with the details. We think with the kind of more primal emotive parts.
Yeah.
Great. So let's hear the whole way through. Yeah.
That takes a lot of energy.
It takes a lot of energy. I mean, it feels like a 20-minute piece.
Yeah,
It's like I'm running away from something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like I used to play in an orchestra, and we played operas, and doing Tristan and Isolde, which is a 5-hour opera, felt a lot easier than doing Electra by Strauss, which was 90 minutes, right? So it just depends on the extremity of it. What I would say is, like, you really sold it to me a lot more, and what I observed was that your physicality communicated the music, but it also loosened you up. It also put you in the music itself. So I think that was great. And one of the things that I think you'll find is playing it through from beginning to end, right? So doing the work that we did, like the pixel perfect isolated work, working at things slower so that you can have time to, like, know what's coming up and prepare for it. But then playing it through several times so that you get the idea of how you have to pace it. Because, like, my intention is that it's like 1,000% the whole time, right? But realistically, you have to find the places where you can take back the energy and plan it, right? Just don't tell the composer that it's not 1,000, like that you're backing it off to like 999%, right? That was really, really excellent. Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you.
Good. I'm really looking forward to it, and they'll be performing this tomorrow night as part of Thursday night as part of our fellows concert. So yeah, congratulations.
Thank you so
Fantastic.
much.
We're excited.
Yeah, me too. Great. So now for something completely different. It almost couldn't be more of a different piece that we're going to hear right now. So Natalie Stepanek is going to play Ut by Marcos Balter. Hi, Natalie.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you great.
Okay.
So do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and just a little bit about the piece that we're about to hear, because it's a big contrast from what we just heard.
Yeah, so my name is Natalie Stepanek, and I am a violist, and I'm starting my Doctor of Musical Arts in the fall at Louisiana State University. And I've been studying contemporary music for a few years now, and Ut has kind of been in my repertoire, but I don't get to perform it quite as much as I'd like to, but I think it's a really great piece. It's a piece that works a lot with the harmonics, natural harmonics of the instrument. It moves from different extremities, and I think it's a really nice ambient piece, which is completely different from the last thing.
Great. I'm really looking forward. Go ahead. Yeah, excellent. Really, really excellent. So there's it's a short piece, but it's so incredibly dense, right, with detail, right? So not every, the audience can't see the score, but there's a whole. It's actually, it's written for one instrument, viola, right? But it's often written on 3 or 4 staves because there's a lot of information that's happening, and he's playing with all of the different ways that you can use your left hand and all of the different ways that you can use your right hand. And he's very explicit that he wants them to be completely unrelated, right? So not only is it like chewing bubble gum and walking at the same time, but it's like juggling on a unicycle, right? So there's all of these tasks that we have to do. And then for me, there's a real drama about the whole thing, right? So just as we worked on the last, on my music with Harry and Elizabeth, let's dive deep into a couple details, and then I want to find the trajectory of the way through. And I also, I know that your arm is very tired, right? Because that's the reality of this. So I want to find a way that we can work on this in a strategic way that I think will also help with fatigue. Mm-hmm. Okay, so can you just tell us the name of it? The piece is Ut. What does that mean for you, or what do you think that means?
I am not exactly sure. Actually, not quite sure.
Okay, so what I think it's interesting, and I think it gives us a clue to the drama. Okay, because ut is the first. It's like do re mi fa sol la ti do. It means C, right? In the ancient way of naming notes, right? So ut means, let's just say that ut means C. It's sort of so the first note that we hear is C, right? And C is prominent throughout. But there's a few times when we don't hear a C, where the C is absent. And if we look at the very end of the piece, so we start with C, and it's only C, and it sort of emerges from nothing, and it comes back into nothing, and it emerges from nothing, and it comes back into nothing. But at the very end of the piece, C is not there, right? So if the name of the piece is C, ut, and it's about leaving C and coming back to C, right? It's, and the way, the trajectory of this is it's very interesting. If you ever get a chance to look at the music for everybody else, he shows us with these harmonics the actual notes that should be sounding, and it's this kind of infinitesimal journey away from C and back, and then kind of this wedge shape that emerges and then contracts. And in the course of this piece, this wedge shape that comes from C, expands and comes back to it, leaves us not at C at the end, right? Or we could say we're lost at C, to be very punny. But I think there's something to this idea that it's the name of the piece is basically C. It starts on C. There's a C through most of it, existing through most of the piece, but at the end we're not there, right? So another, UT also, and for me, I try and find multiple ways into the drama of a piece. UT also can mean, like Greenwich Mean Time, right? Like is UT, universal time. So in a way, one dramatic trajectory of this feels to me like it's these time signals being sent out maybe into space. There's something very spatial about it, but the idea that the atomic clock or whatever that's running in Greenwich, England, is sending out these signals, and so that we're sort of getting these faint signals of time information, but they're very difficult to figure out. It's probably not what he meant, but in a way it doesn't matter. Yeah, it is from Guido's hand. Yeah, thanks, Aurora. Yeah, so Guido d'Arezzo, yeah, ut. That's how this naming structure came. Yeah. So can we do the very beginning? So that's one big picture, drama to get into it. But can we go to the very beginning? This is a piece that's without time signatures, but it's also, he is fairly precise about the relative durations of things, and he's very precise about, he does give a metronome mark, which is 60. Can you play from the first measure is then also repeated? So I just want you to think about a couple things. He's got these whole notes with the lines on them, right? So that's the old notation for a double whole note. So that actually technically lasts for 8 beats at 60. That comes from nothing for 8 beats, goes up to mezzo forte for 2 beats, and then takes another 8 beats to go back to basically 3Ps or nothing. And it's very difficult to play that slowly, but then he asks us to repeat it too, right? So there's actually something very classical about the structure, right? So in Mozart is short plus long, just like here we have this repeated thing, kind of a short gesture, up and back, repeated exactly, up and back. And then that gesture then expands and is longer. So there's something kind of classical about it, right? This idea of, I'm going to tell you something, I'm going to repeat that thing so that I'm sure you got it, and then I'm going to elaborate on it. So can you just play that first measure twice and think about 8 beats and it's going to feel like 108 beats, to, especially in front of people, but just try that. Yeah, excellent, excellent. How does that feel? Does that feel like cruelly long to you?
No, it kind of feels a little bit more like one of those like difficulty long meditation breath patterns that like you'd have to like really pace yourself going in and out, otherwise you might pass out. But yeah.
For me now, it took the time that it needed to take to make that journey. And even though that it's all on one note, right, and really you're only moving the bow like, let's say 6 inches or something like that, it should feel like you're jumping like 12 octaves and then back down. Yeah. So I thought that was really, really excellent. Then what I would say is, let's look at another way to practice going forward, because there's a lot of things that have to happen with the left hand that on purpose have to be independent of the right hand, right? And one of the things that happens is like you've got this constant tremolo going. Let's eliminate that as a fatigue factor and eliminate that. It's very difficult to do something which is out of time with one hand and out of time with the other hand at different out of times, right? So can we just play from now on just without tremolo, so just long bows, maybe starting measure 2. And I just had a message in the chat. Yes, so there are different overtones that are sounding. So as she moves the bow, what the composer is asking for is the composer wants to hear those different sounds emerging that happen when the bow moves, and it sort of picks out different harmonics that are already present in the harmonic series. And I thought that you did a great job with that. Let's go bar 2. Just play long bows. It doesn't matter however you need to change the bow, but without tremolo. And in fact, actually, let's start from the second line.
From the second line.
From the second line of the piece. So whatever that is, measure 5.
Okay. So you just play the rhythms without the tremolo.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Good. Can you even, yeah, excellent. One thing that I think you'll find is that there's plenty to focus on in the left hand, right? Without that artificial, like making yourself go crazy with the right hand, right? And maybe, even injuring yourself or something like that. So, and he's also very explicit in the instructions about the piece that he wants to hear those overtones coming out. Can you now do, can you do the first measure that you just played? So measure 5, can you do it in 2 bows? So triplet, da dee da dee da dee, right? So take 2 bows in there, not re-articulating every different pitch. Yeah, excellent. Can you do that one more time and really hear that whatever you need to do with the bow, very infinitesimal bow adjustments and percussive with the left hand, so that we hear that do yi do ya do de do di do di do di do di. Yeah, that was excellent. I think it seems to me that that's part of what he's going for. Is right. It's about motion, but it's about different speeds of motion simultaneously happening. And what this feels like, to kind of extend the space metaphor, this feels like sort of like circling around a black hole. Do ti to ta to ti yobe dobe 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 dobe. That feeling. Can you do that now with tremolo? With that, so we want to hear the harmonics coming out, and we want to have that feeling of circling the black hole. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Can you get what can you do to get those harmonics to pop out even a little bit more? Are there something that you can do very slightly with your fingers on your right hand to kind of pull those out just a little bit?
I might need to use a little bit more bow.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I really hear that because he's very specific about that, right? There's a lot of activity going, but here actually the left hand activity is slower and then increasing, and I really got that the way that you played it this time. Now can we play only the next measure with long bows, right? Because there's a lot to think about in terms of the speed of the trills that he wants.
Is that it, or should I keep going?
That's, keep going, but let's see what you can do. A little percussively with the left hand, very like small things with your fingertips to pull out those harmonics. Great. Can you do that one more time? And just for everybody who can't see the score, she's supposed to be doing like 18 different things all at once, right? And they're all like in direct opposition to each other, right? But this is about speed, but it's also about emerging, right? So that we have a mezzo forte, crescendo to a mezzo forte, and then coming back. So again, we have those whole notes with the lines around them, which mean double whole notes. So the amount of time that it's actually the amount of time that we're in a piano without any kind of dynamic is 8, 16, 24 beats, right? Where it's just a trill and the bow moving, and then it should feel like that crescendo to mezzo forte is like this epic event, like universe shaking Big Bang.
And this is without tremolo.
Exactly. Okay, great. How did that feel?
I felt like since I figured out the timing for these, since these are double whole notes instead of regular whole notes for most of them. I feel like I can hear a lot more of the stuff coming out like it's supposed to.
Yeah, I'm getting that detail of the harmonics coming through. I think that that's really good. So, then we have to like preserve that when we reintroduce the tremolo, but I think you're doing like really valuable work right now, and you're not making your arm crazy, your right arm crazy, right? Because you're actually hearing things that you wouldn't have heard if you were doing tremolo, and you're not wasting your tremolo energy, right? Could I ask you to do exactly what you just did one more time? Actually, start at measure 5. And still without tremolo, pace this so that it's, piano is really piano. And then the mezzo forte really feels like it's really emerging. Humor me for a second and make this about a black hole.
Okay, yeah.
Okay? And that the mezzo forte is like the moment of the Big Bang. I'm mixing my interplanetary metaphors here. So sorry, but that mezzo forte just feels like the whole world is exploding in slow motion. Great. Good. I like it. I feel like it can be, I could feel like it could be even more drama, like, just like, for me, that brings it to life, and it also kind of gets us away from the tasks of it, because I do feel like it's this kind of very slowly emerging thing that does have a sense of drama to it. And just to point out that where we just ended up, the only note that's sounding is a D. Right? So that in this piece called Ut, or C, right? Guido, there's no C sounding. And just like that first crescendo that goes from 3 Ps to mezzo forte should feel like 12 octave jump. It should feel like the difference from going from C to D, which is basically a whole step, should just feel like we've left the confines of the universe. Like we've left gravity behind. Right? And all of a sudden we're in this new territory where C doesn't exist. Right? So here's what I'd love to do is, like, we took a lot of this just apart, but could you do the first 2 lines of the piece? And let's just make it this interplanetary space drama, right? Where there's these radio signals that are being emitted from Greenwich, right, of C that are traveling through space, and you're getting them on like some 1960s transistor radio that's like outside of the universe or outside of the galaxy, right? You're barely hearing this kind of thing, and the interplanetary space noise and all of this kind of drama that we go from C to D. Okay, and add back in the tremolo, and then all of these details that we talked about, get as many as you can, but really just take us on this journey of like kind of trying to decipher this interplanetary noise and where it's taking us and the mystery of it. Yeah, that's great. Sorry. You were in the trance, which was good. Which was good. Didn't mean to knock you out of the universe there. For me, that was so alive, and it felt to me like it took you a little bit out of the kind of I must do this and I must do this kind of task night. Like, of course we need to like work on that, right? And what he's asking us to do is like kind of hard. But like I felt like there was a structure to it, and I think the thing for me that's important is it doesn't matter what you choose as the structure. I mean, so like we took this kind of silly little story about interplanetary noise, right? Yeah. It worked for me. Like, I mean, if we told somebody, like if we had to ask everybody, made everybody guess, they would never in a million years think that you're playing about interplanetary noise. But what they heard was the drama of like emerging and disappearing. So, and I'm sure that that's not what the piece is about for the composer, right? Yeah. But
on Facebook.
What's that?
I could message him on Facebook and ask, but
don't tell him I said that. What I think is important. What I think is important is that we find our own way in as performers to enter into the space of the piece. No pun intended, right? Whatever that is. And as long as we are very carefully observing what the composers ask for, then I think that's well within our rights, as performers. And it's kind of our obligation to get beyond the notes, I mean, so just I'll leave you with just like this metaphor of like, if you have Shakespeare, right, and you just read the notes or the words correctly in Shakespeare, it's hard enough to do. I mean, there's a lot there, and like, yeah, but that's like so like 3% of what Shakespeare's about, right? And it's the same thing with notated music. Is like really what's interesting is all of the stuff that happens after we, do what's obligated, which is like say the words in Shakespeare, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's like whatever your story is, whatever emerges, whatever your way in. I feel for myself, I never feel like a piece is done, like I really know it until I find the way in, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Use whatever thing is possible is helpful for you. But I do think this idea of separating out the tasks and finding a way to practice things which don't exhaust you. I mean, tremolo is crazy, right? Yeah. I do also think that you can find ways to vary your tremolo motion, like coming from the fingers, coming from the wrist, coming from the arm, coming from the back, so that you're not always using the same muscles, when you have to play through the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But when you're focusing on things which are left hand specific, find other ways to that you can separate that out. But this was great. It was so fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Natalie. I really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Glad I got to perform it again.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear you do the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
See you for the observatory.
Yeah. Hey, pitch it to the observatory, and then you can get funding. Yeah. Why not? Why not?
Yeah. I mean, I have a brother in astrophysics, so it might work.
Aha. Well, everything that I said wrong, in terms of astrophysics, just like ignore it, right?
Okay.
I have a layperson's understanding of interplanetary physics, so mea culpa.
I don't either.
Okay. Great. So great. Our third performer today is Jade Hales, who's going to be playing something already completely different, right? So this is a very, very program. And those of you who've stuck around through all the crazy new music, we're going to hear some Bach. Bach is always great, soothing for the soul. From the Chaconne, which is a major piece for violin that Jade will be playing with mallets. Hey Jade, how's it going?
Hey there, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Shall we just jump right in?
Yeah, sure. I never thought I would be playing the most traditional piece of violin repertoire on a strings masterclass. But it's gonna be great.
Life is full of surprises. I love it.
I'm gonna be going back and forth between headphones, so if you need me to stop, just like wave. I have you pinned, so it should be okay. Before I start, sorry, for everyone else's information, this is the middle section. It's not right from the beginning. That's what we agreed on, right? Okay.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much, Jay. Yeah, really, really beautiful. And it's so great to hear it on Vibes, and you know, there's a lot of violinists, right? And it's just so great to see what you have to do to make that sound, and what you have to do to create the illusion of sustain that's so easy for violinists, right? I mean, this is a very difficult piece for violinists, but everything is right here, and it's all, you know, sustained. So I'd love to go back to the beginning and think about the way that we can create the illusion of sustain. The thing that's so powerful to me about Bach's music is that sense of development and inevitability, the way that it moves through time and through space. And so when we have these long kind of architectural phrases, you know the idea of zooming out on the phrase, right? So we can be, it's like super local. We can be 1 and 2 and 3 and, or it can be 1, 3, 1. I think that there's this kind of spirituality, this kind of not focused on the everydayness of Bach, that just kind of, he's letting go of the everyday and kind of focusing on the bigger picture, right? I'm getting a little proofy here, but I think it's for a purpose. So what I want to try here at the beginning is maintain this idea that the long line is happening and it's uninterrupted, and there's a sense of tension and continuity and sustain, like we're moving in slow motion through space, to extend the metaphor I was using before. So can you go from where you started, and what happens between, can you show us what's happening between the beats? You know, like if you were playing this underwater, you would actually not, there's no starting and stopping. It's just everything is fluid, the way that you connect beat 1 to beat 2 to beat 3. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Let's try that. I thought that was excellent. I just thought that was so really gorgeous, you know, and it just felt like there was a spaciousness and we knew where it was going, and it was just so clear. I don't know if that felt different to you, but for me, what I was getting from it was the sense of peace and order and super great. Can we try one more time? And really think about how you connect beat 1 to beat 2. 2. And only feel beat 1. Like feel beat 1. Float. 3 leads to 1. Floating. 3 leads to 1. Just this feeling that there's only one landing spot in every bar, and then we're floating and everything is moving towards it. Exactly what you did, just even more so, I think. So for me there was a little bit of break between beat 1 and 2. Can you show me 1, 2?
So just with like the physicality of the instrument, you just want one long continuous stroke, not more like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really good, even with more intention that one is going right to two. Like exactly like that, but just like we know, like it's like a laser. Like one goes to two. Keep it going. More intense. Keep it going, the tension.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Fighting my headphones here. But
Yeah, I know. Well, that's something Bach never had to deal with. He didn't have to deal with the vibes or the headphones. But for my observation was that it just it made sense. It flowed. It felt like you were looser physically and musically, and that what it felt like was that now there's room for the big momentum and the big growth, and it just felt like you were really taking us. It was super clear. Any observations or questions, or how did that feel to you?
I think when I said I wanted to do this section, it was like I felt I didn't have a certain direction in terms of musicality for this
Mm-hmm.
in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Have the same arc as the other two sections, so it's the same direction. But thinking about these bigger phrases is definitely helpful.
Yeah, I just think you're just playing so beautifully, and I think it's just letting go of the minutia and feeling, what are the big, it's almost a cliche to say, Bach was an organist and he played in these big organs, and but thinking about the big pillars in the church, so you're going from the ground up into the air. And then there's the next pillar of the cathedral, right? And in between, we're suspended. We're going through the arc. That was really super beautiful. Do you want to continue on with another section where it feels like you want to get a little bit deeper into it?
Yeah, I can keep going on after. Or do you mean in this middle section, or like?
I'm in like part of what you just the section that you chose to play, right? So keep on going to another section that we already looked at.
I could touch like this section here.
Okay. Okay, so let's just take a look at that, and let's prioritize one beat per bar, and everything else is in relationship to that. Right. So if you choose the downbeat as your big beat, then don't give too much on beat 2. If you choose to beat 2, don't give too much on beat 1.
I think I've read that the dance is supposed to be an emphasis on beat 2, so I'm gonna try for beat 2.
Great. Yeah, I think it's nice. It feels still a little bit vertical to me in terms of like lots of events that are happening rather than the event that happens and the aftermath that then circles to prepare for the next one. So choose your beat and trust that the other ones will be there. Great. So I mean, Bach is notoriously tricky for like you can go in any direction, right? It's always hard to memorize. But let's do that. Let's do that one more time. And even you kind of go to midway through a little landing spot. Let's see if we can make that less local and less vertical and more that it's the long, 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 long phrase. Playing the long game. Keep it going. Keep the tension in the sound. Keep it going. Long game. Keep it going. Keep building. Tension. Big arcs. Keep going. Long goal. Keep it going. Keep going. Yes. Yeah. For me, Jade, that was like super beautiful. Super, super beautiful. And I mean, it's all there for you. I mean, you feel this and it's very natural. I think it's just like not, of course there's a lot of things that you have to do. And right, it doesn't lay well and it's not violin and it's all, but the notes are there. And when you give yourself permission to just kind of like be free floating, where the architecture goes. That's clear to me. Like when you just like allow yourself to zoom out from it, if that makes sense, and
Just on accuracy, it tends to be more musical.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like welcome to like life as a musician, right? But the thing that's so clear to me is that it's so musical, and that when you zoom out, it's just got that enormous breadth to it. It feels very spiritual to me, and that's always our challenge, right? Is like, how do we like do the work we need to do, but like ultimately convey the big message. And for Bach, it's like really was playing the long game, right? It's not about this world, it's about the next world, right? And especially in a piece that's like the chaconne, which is like the same harmonic thing. Like I forget how many times it is, but it's crazy how many times it is. Is if we think local, then it gets a little too repetitive. But if we think like you were doing, like you were putting a couple variations together, right? You weren't thinking like, I'm going to hit the half cadence. You weren't thinking I'm going to hit that cadence. You were thinking like, okay, this one builds to the next one, builds to the next one, and then here's a big arrival point. So the more that you can, I mentioned earlier about like putting like an arrow where you feel arrival points are, and kind of going through and doing the work of like, okay, here's where I feel like that whole section ends up. you know, and putting a vertical arrow there. So you can, like, even if you're like 3 lines before then, you can go like, not yet, not yet, not yet, getting there, getting there, getting there, getting there. And then you get to the arrow. And that just helps me, like, with peripheral vision, plan the architecture. And that does seem like it helps to free you up for this. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Jade. I really appreciate it. And thanks to Harry and Elizabeth and Natalie for playing. And this has been really, really fun. I really appreciate everybody tuning in and such great artists playing. And I just love to just jump into this music.